Hi, I'm Virginia from Right Clinic, and here with me today is Arianna Ferrini, who is a freelance medical writer and science communicator. Thank you for joining us today, Arianna.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And also, you told me before that this would be your first podcast, which is very cool. So it's a privilege. Thank you so much. And I hope there are many more after this.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you.
All right. So let's start with what do you do and how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I'm a freelance medical writer and science communicator, and I specialize in medical education, both from the healthcare professional and the patient side. And on top of the writing part of my job, I do quite a bit of training. So I deliver courses and masterclasses about scientific writing, publishing, um, communicating science to different audiences. So these are the two things that I mainly do. And how I got into it, it's I would say kind of thanks to the lockdowns that we had in the UK and all over the world. But I was based in London at the time, so I think the lockdown kind of gave me the time and space to slow down a bit and really explore other career options. I did my PhD and I really enjoyed it, and so I kind of thought it makes sense to do a postdoc after. But I never really stopped to think if long term that was what I wanted to do. And again, during the lockdown, I started to do some scientific writing on the side, like some small writing gigs on the side. And I really, really enjoyed it. And then I realized that I also kind of enjoyed writing my PhD thesis and writing papers and reviews. I wrote quite a few reviews for both during my PhD and my postdoc. So I kind of put everything together, and writing in general has always been my thing. It's always been a big passion. Creative writing as well. I published a poetry book a few years ago. So everything related to writing is always been my big first love, together with science. So in the end, it made sense to put the two together, and it was nice when I decided that I wanted to be a freelance medical writer, and I started building my business. Then everyone around me, from like my PhD supervisor or my friends, my family, one sentence that they said a lot was like, it makes sense that you're like putting together the science and the writing and the communication in general. So it started from there.
That's really nice. I really like how supportive the people were around you, because sometimes people think, if you're going to do freelancing, it's really risky, especially if it's writing, and they think it's so competitive, which it is. But if you have a real passion for it and you really enjoy it, then you shouldn't let anything stop you. And it was nice to know that you had that support from your family and friends around you, and even your fellow PhD colleagues and things like that. So that's really nice.
Yeah, it was nice. Although, as I'm sure you're perfectly aware, at the beginning it's quite tricky to explain this job in a sense. And not everyone is familiar with what we do, and so there was support, but I see that you're happy, but don't really understand exactly what you're doing, but you seem happy.
Yeah, the important thing is they see you happy, but really in their brain they're thinking, what is medical writing? What does a medical writer actually do? They're not like 100% sure.
Yeah.
I think some people can, they can be with someone for a really long time and they still have no idea what they do, but it's fine because they're happy, and it's a nice relationship.
But that's why I think it's really important what you're doing with this podcast and with Right Clinic in general. Even to raise awareness and like make people aware of this really exciting career.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm definitely one of those people that is like, if there's something great, then I will shout about it, and then I will start to bring other people who know how great it is to shout about it as well. So the podcast, the purpose is really to help people hear voices like yours, and I really like that you know, even being here today is really supportive of this kind of mission that we have. So thank you so much. You know, we wouldn't exist without support from people like you.
Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So, to ask a follow on question, what do you know now that you wish you knew earlier to help you get a head start in your career as a freelance medical writer? So, what would you advise kind of someone to say, oh, I wish I knew this from the very beginning?
Yeah, that's a great question, I think, for everything in life. Yeah, I don't know. I have this quite like serendipitous view of life, and like kind of I wouldn't change anything. Like everything that I did brought me to what I'm doing now, and even the mistakes, But of course, there's lots of things I wish I knew. But one thing would be like to use LinkedIn. Start using LinkedIn earlier, and like with like really put effort in it, because I think as academics, like you don't really use it. Like I had the profile, but I wasn't using it. Maybe I was using Twitter a bit more. But yeah, then when I became a freelance medical writer, I really realized how important it was to build my personal brand, and to grow my community, and so yeah, that's I think one advice, and of course, and this is linked to it, like to network with people online and offline, of course. So and to keep connection with your professional network, even from previous jobs. So for example, I'm still working with some like previous colleagues that maybe went on and found a company, and so I'm doing medical scientific writing for them. So I'm network is everything, and yeah, and another important thing that like another advice I would give is definitely to take advantage of the resources of the European Medical Writer Association, if you're based in Europe, or the American one in America, because yeah, they are such a nice supportive again we go back to the supportive attitude, like the really nice supportive community, and tons of resources that you can get access to. So yeah, that's definitely what I luckily since I had a very good friend who's also a freelance medical writer, so I knew about EMWA quite early on in my journey, thanks to her. So I joined early, and it was really useful.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I think LinkedIn is definitely the place to be. You should always be networking, and the first people you should network with are always the people that you know the most. So your friends and family and colleagues. And, if they know that you're looking, then you'll be top of mind because they know you personally and they want to help you out with your career. And then, of course, EMWA and AMWA are great. So I definitely joined EMWA as one of the first things I did in my first year as a medical writer, just to have that kind of community support, and all the people that I met through that were really great. Just an amazing community. And, you realize how small the community is when you kind of start networking on LinkedIn and you see the same people over and over again. And, but it's great to have that kind of close knit community, because you know that everyone knows everyone. So you kind of share the work between you as well. And yeah, I think if you're not on LinkedIn, you should make an account right now. If you're listening to this and you're not on LinkedIn, it's definitely the place to be to find work and connect with other writers. So, a lot of writers find work through other writers who are oversubscribed or they have too much to do. So how do you balance being a freelance medical writer with, family life and working remotely? And how do you kind of balance the time that you spend working, the time that you spend on your business?
Yeah, this last one, it's a great question. And yeah, so I think the more I go on and the more I realize that I really need to put some time aside intentionally to work on my business and not in my business. For example, creating content for LinkedIn, and attending courses and conferences for my professional development. I think it's super important, and it's not absolutely not like wasted time. It's actually a really, really good use of your time. Of course, you have to balance it with your client work, so it's not always easy. But I try to, to maybe have some months where I have a bit less client work, and then I invest more time in that. And other months where maybe I commit 100% of my time to client work. So it's there's flexibility, which is it's one of the great thing about doing this for yourself. And yeah, going back to the first questions, like juggling working and family and everything. I have a small daughter, so it's not always easy, but again, with the flexibility that this job allows, it's possible. And I think, when it sounds a bit cliche, but when you do something that you are passionate about, it's not like you won't work a day in your life, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You still work very hard, but you always find a way. You always find a way to put everything together, and I'm really happy that I took this decision, and like I built this business, which I feel it's aligned to my values, to what I like, and I think that the more you go on, the better you become at refining this, like realize what you really like to do, and you learn to say no to clients and projects that maybe don't feel right for you in that moment. And on the other hand, you gain the confidence of like pitching your services, for example, which I've been doing quite a bit, and I've been having some success with it. So it's all balance.
You're far too humble. One of the sorry. Sorry, I stopped what you were saying. Continue.
No, I was just saying that it's worth it. It's not. It's hard, but it's always worth it. I feel.
Yeah, definitely. And I, just to catch on what I was saying, I definitely think you're far too humble. I was looking at some of your most recent LinkedIn posts where you have the carousel, where you are saying the same thing but to different audiences, and it's just so great because it's so engaging and it really gets you thinking about the skill that you have as a medical writer. So what got you to, what inspired you to actually create that carousel? And I hope that you are going to continue the trend, and what's next on the horizon for you. So what inspired you and what do you want to do next?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for your kind words on the carousels. And I've done the stem cell one and the clinical trials one, so explaining this concept to different audiences, from a 5-year-old kid to another highly specialized researcher, with the general public, a patient, policymakers in between. And it's fun. And what inspired me, I think, when I reflect back on my journey, like during my PhD, especially, and my postdoc as well, I did a lot of stuff on the side that was in a way related to science communication. And again, that all made sense that I was doing it because I liked it. And it was all related to communicating with different audiences. For example, I was an outreach postgraduate ambassador for Imperial College London. So I would go to schools and like talk about what a scientist does, and like explain the research to the kids from like primary school to high school. And so, and then with my research group, we would participate to like a lot of public engagement events and festivals, or like Kind of Science and things like that. So even in those occasions, I could really see the impact that having a great like science communication strategy could make on different audiences. So I think that's where I learned this skill, and like and I always remember from those experiences the importance of having different languages to make science accessible in the end, because I really don't like when people they think about science is like another like some like so different, like so far and distant, and science is something that detached from reality, while it's everything but, especially also if we're talking about science like biomedical science and medicine. So the aim is really to make it accessible for as many people as possible, and maybe to inspire someone else to go deeper, not necessarily to become a scientist, but to read a bit more, and to learn something new, because I think learning is always exciting.
So you said learning is always exciting. I love that. I can really relate, because I also love to learn. As a final remark and final question, what would you like to do next? Do you want to carry on being a freelance medical writer? Do you want to work with different clients? Or how do you see yourself progressing in your career?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think at the moment I'm really happy being a freelance medical writer. So I think I'll continue, and of course I wanna work with different clients and keep expanding my business. And something that I wanna do a bit more, and like to go back to the question of what's on the horizon, is to do more of the master classes that I was telling you at the beginning. So these are usually like 90 minutes masterclass on quite a specific topic. At the moment, for example, I'm preparing one on how to write a press release for a research article, or how to identify research gaps to write a literature review. So instead of just doing like I also do like scientific writing courses, like more general, but I like to do these more specific, shorter courses. So, and I'm gonna be doing more of those. So I'll advertise them on LinkedIn. Going back to the importance of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And also very excited that in a couple of weeks there is the virtual conference of the European Medical Writer Association, and I will be attending in one of the local hub here in Italy, in Florence. So yeah, I'm very excited to meet some of the fellow writers in person.
Amazing. All right. So it's really interesting to hear that you create these masterclasses, and I like that they're short and digestible, and they're really helpful, because I think a lot of people are, trying to pick up those kinds of skills. How do you create a press release for a new publication, and what should you include? How should you set it out, and where should it go in order for it to be published, and those kinds of essential skills that you need. So it's great to write, but it's also great to know all the different types of writing as well. So I love that you're really building your skill set, and then also sharing your knowledge and helping people to upskill as well.
Thank you. So, and yeah, I like the courses and the masterclass, because it gives you like the human connection. Like it's not just you typing away in front of a computer. Like you actually get to meet the students, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I love that. I love that as well. Like, you know, I think one of the best ways to learn anything is to know it well enough in order to teach it, because then you really have to understand it, because the students are going to ask you questions. And so you have to be able to answer all of those questions. So that's really nice. And yeah, I will leave links in the description below so that you can connect with Arianna on LinkedIn. And also, I'll leave some links to some of her most recent posts so you can see what we were talking about in terms of the carousels, where she does the different types of writing or a concept and explaining it to different levels of audience. So from a 5-year-old to a policymaker or a healthcare professional. They're really nice to read and they're very popular. So I definitely suggest that you check those out and get inspired. And I know that they take Arianna hours to make, so you will be able to digest them in a few minutes. So a lot of work has been put into them, and they're you know, I love to share great work, and yeah, Arianna is definitely a great inspiration. So I hope you learn a lot from her from
Thank
this
you so
episode.
much.
Yeah, no, a pleasure to shine a light on people like Arianna. And you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again.
A pleasure. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank
And
you
you.
thank you. Thank you. All right. See you
Bye.
next episode. Bye.